What's going up, guys? Clocks on the Stove, episode number 6. Myself, Grayson Fisher. We got Big Meech over there as well. Today,
Hello.
our very special guest, Mr. Aalon Cruz. How we doing today?
Good, man. Thanks for having me on.
Now, thank you for coming, man. So I've been hyping this up to a lot of people. Everyone keeps hitting me up with like, "What do you think about the fights tonight? What do you think about the fights tonight?" I was like, you know what? I'm not the expert. Let's get an expert in here. So that's what we did. We got an expert. But before we start about the fights, let's talk about you a little bit. So you want to give us just like where you're from, when you started MMA, why you got into it, and your journey, just whatever you want to tell us.
Yeah, man. So, Aalon Cruz, I'm Florida born. I was actually born in Parrish, Florida, which is it's like a mile long town. And it's just, rednecks and Mexicans that live down there. And I, came up to Tampa, started going to school up here in first grade. And that's kind of, how I started the transition moving to Tampa. And then when I played baseball from like 6 until high school. I tried out for my high school team. Actually didn't make it because I was skateboarding at the time. So I was skipping practice. I wasn't in shape. I never even got to play. I never even got to like show the coaches my skill. Literally, it was the first tryout day was just conditioning. I had no conditioning. I was sprinting. I was throwing up and they cut me right then. And I was like, this is so dumb. So anyway, my friend was like, yo, he's like, let's try out wrestling. And I was like, what? I was like, you know, when they wear tights and they're like on top of rolling each other. And he's like, no, it's cool, man. It's cool. Let's try wrestling. I'm like, all right. So I joined the wrestling team in high school. And then, I fell in love with it, was wrestling. And then in between summers, we didn't have like a wrestling club or anything. So I joined it was a kickbox. It was Tiger Schulman's karate at the time. And they were transitioning to an MMA gym.
Okay.
So they had submission grappling, kickboxing, and then, whatever else. So I was going there during the summer and I fell in love with the striking. I fell in love with doing jiu-jitsu. And I would wrestle. And then later at night, I'd go there and train. And like I said, I was like 16 years old and now I'm 31. Obviously, like you are, Grayson, on your path right now. I went through the amateur ranks. I was 5-1. Actually, my last 3 fights, I fought three fights in 3 months. And it was just because I was ready to go pro. But when I came back to Florida after fighting out of state, you could only go pro at the time when I was fighting amateur. Then they changed the rule that you had to have 5 fights before you go pro.
Yeah, it's 5 right now, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually lost my final amateur fight. It was a split decision in the kid's hometown, and to be honest, I won that fight, so it didn't really matter. I was going to go pro anyway.
Yeah.
So then I went pro, and then I worked my way to the Contender Series. That took a long time. I think I went pro when I was 23, and I didn't get into the UFC till I turned 30.
Damn.
So it was 7 years being a pro, and it wasn't because it was just I was trying to fight and it was really hard to find fights. Like nobody wanted to fight or they would back out last minute. I've waited almost 2 years for a fight before.
Damn.
For a title fight. It was terrible. And that's just what happens. You're going to find out, when you go pro. It's just how it is.
Mm-hmm.
I made it into UFC. I lost my first 2 fights. I fought my first fight February 2019 against Fight Carlisle. And then I just had my most recent fight, March 6th or 7th on the Adesanya card. And I lost to Uros Medic, who was also off the Contender Series. And then I got cut shortly after that. Huh?
Dude, that dude's a monster.
Just on that recent Adesanya card?
The Adesanya versus Jan Blachowicz.
Yeah, he was one of the opening fights.
Oh, that's the fight that I couldn't get because I know Dana White cracked down on all like the kind of. So I was trying to get the fight, and I was like, "Dude, they shut down all the websites," and I was just like, "Screw it, I can't watch it. I'm not paying for it." But this fight tonight, I'm gonna find a way. If I gotta pay, I'll do it. But
dude,
yeah, that's. So you didn't really start wrestling or any type of mixed martial arts until you were 16.
Yeah. I've always been an athlete. Like when I was younger,
I had a lot of energy, which most kids do. But like, I remember my mom told me that the doctors thought I had ADHD or whatever it was, which I'm sure I did. But they wanted to put me on pills, stuff, like to make you calm down. But she was like, no, like, I'm not putting my kid on meds and stuff. So what she would do is that she would sign me up for 2 or 3 different sports at a time. So I would literally go from baseball practice straight to a soccer game, and then later in that day I go play street hockey at a different league. So I was always doing like at least 2 or 3 sports at a time.
Do you ever
Like
play
that.
football?
I played flag football. I never played like tackle football or like tackle football.
Bro, Aalon, you know what's crazy about that is actually the exact reason I got into MMA was when I was younger. I was about like literally like 3 to 4 years old, like the smallest you can be and do a sport. And I had a loud mouth, I had a big mouth on me, and I had all this energy. And my parents tried to put me in like t-ball, soccer, nothing could like do it. So at the time it was I don't know if you remember Evolution Martial Arts off of Northdale Mabry.
Yeah.
That was where I
One of my
started.
friends
So
pre-owned that, Ryan.
yeah. So they
I
started me
should have
there.
done that because I played baseball growing up, dude, and I was always the kid. Like if I struck out, I'd like throw my helmet and like just be one of those like little stupid kids with a temper problem.
Yeah.
And I kind of looking back, I wish I had that discipline, but like I obviously I outgrew it, but like when I was like 10 years old, man, I was like so competitive and. I was never like the best baseball player, but I was like, good enough to play on the all-star teams and the district teams, but never the best. So that's what I think is crazy that you just stepped into a role at 16 and picked it up and went pro. So that's just some raw, athleticism and some drive, that's like a different, I respect fighters almost more than any sport because like the thing about football is if you have just straight up athleticism, there's guys that don't even play football in college and they get drafted just because they're 6'5" and have giant hands and can run fast. But fighting, I feel like I'm no expert, but I feel like it takes more technique and discipline and for you to do that pretty quickly to hop into that's pretty impressive, man.
Yeah, so that's what I was trying to say though, Meech.
All right.
My parents were like didn't know what to do. They were like scared I was gonna get beat up when I started school because I had a big mouth and I couldn't stop my ADHD. My mom was the same thing. She wasn't putting me on pills. She was like, I'm not putting them on Adderall or whatever they're gonna give them. So we found this jujitsu gym, but it was I can't remember the last name. It was a karate gym. Then Cook took over and transitioned it to jiu-jitsu. It was like jiu-jitsu and kickboxing. And then I fell in love, dude. I started my first class when I was 4. I got humbled right off rip, so my mouth went away. And at the same time, like my ADD and whatever they thought I had was gone because you can't. It's not like soccer where you can run and stop. And so like as you know, dude, it's nonstop. So it kept me engaged the whole time, and I got really good at it. I was a multiple-time IBJJF state champ growing up. Like my jiu-jitsu was filthy, but then obviously life happens, different stuff. The obstacles came in, but that's crazy that you said that. That's why like you kind of started too.
Yeah, I mean, I think some people are just athletes too, right? I mean, it's weird because there's like a thing where people say like there's fighters, like people who are just naturally like, someone could walk in or you could walk into somebody and get in a street fight and you're down to fight. Mm-hmm. Which that's not me. I've never even been in a street fight. I avoid that stuff, and I'm pretty good at de-escalating. I don't like fighting, but I would say I'm more of the athlete side because I loved competition, and I do like to fight inside the cage. And then other than that, like confrontation is not my thing at all. So I would consider myself an athlete, I guess, fighter. But that's not to say I'm not down to get with the shit sometimes,
Oh, for sure, yeah. And me and Meech kind of talked about this when we talked about the last fight card.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
The way I broke it down to him, I was like, I feel like there's 3 different kind of fighters. You have your like Masvidals who are just fighters. They just grew up fighting. They grew up being tough. Then I feel like you got like your McGregors who they were really poor, or like your Holloways, and they didn't have anything else but fight. Like only thing they knew in their life was to fight. Like they fought all the odds, all that stuff. And then I feel like you got like your GSPs and your Wonder Boys and your Izzies who were brought up in like the martial art aspect. You know, I feel like that's the, and then obviously there's the blend of the three, but I feel like those are the three biggest ones. If I had to categorize fighters into three, I feel like that would be my personal three.
Yeah, I agree.
I like how Wonder Boy fights. He's a kickboxer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
that
a
dude, his kicks are crazy.
Yeah.
He's 57-0 in kickboxing.
Yeah.
But American kickboxing, so it's like karate style.
Yeah. Isn't that more like point spar? It's like get in, get out, get in, get out.
It's getting points, and they wear those. That's when you see like they're wearing the big like breakdancing pants.
Yeah.
And they're doing like that type of stuff. So you'll see a lot of like taekwondo people, because I don't think they can do leg kicks, and I don't think they do any clinches. Like it's not like Muay Thai. It's a little different.
Yeah. Now, when you let's take it a step back. So, if I'm not mistaken, you fought in LFA before the UFC, correct?
No, actually, I fought. So all my fights pretty much have been out of Tampa. I've only fought in Tampa maybe 4 times my entire career, and that was for the RFC.
Yeah.
So the RFC, which they don't run anymore, but the RFC was like probably the best promotion.
Oh, the RFC! I used to watch the RFC, bro. The RFC, there's a lot of good fighters that came out of there.
The RFC is the best. But I fought for RFC, Conflict, Jackson Wink Fight Night out in Albuquerque, and then I would say that's it. And then it was Contender Series, and then the UFC.
So let's break down that Contender Series. Where were you when you got the call? Like, was it right after? Like, how does that work? Can you like dumb it down a little? Like, was it right after a big win? Dana called you, or was it like in the middle of practice? Like, how did you initially find out? Like, oh man, I'm having the opportunity to fight for the UFC.
Yeah, could I jump in on this real quick?
Yeah.
We were talking about, like there's different divisions for different sports, and even in Europe they do it different than here. So I know we've got some listeners over in Brussels, in Belgium, soccer. I know in England there's like 14 leagues. So like there's amateur teams, and they're all, from like Manchester United. They can be dropped down to the 14th team that's an amateur group of 40-year-olds. So, and then, in baseball, there's AA, AAA, single A. And so, yeah, I just wanted to know, like, what was your path, or is there a set path, or like, how does that work in MMA? Because I feel like there's so many different leagues and it's kind of confusing. So if you could break that down, it'd be awesome.
Yeah. So, with MMA, it's more so there isn't really a clear path. So that's the weird thing about MMA is like you can know people, like you have a good agent, or you just know people in the business, and you might have an easier time getting into UFC, or you can grind it out and get your record up and be 10-0 with finishing everybody, and then you get a call from the UFC. You could get in on short notice because some guy missed like the kid that's fighting
Chris, whatever his last name is.
Yeah, like you could get in like that. Like there's no like set path, and like, hey, if you do this, and this, then you're gonna get to UFC, and that's not how it works, because like football, right? Football, you play Pop Warner, Pee Wee, all that stuff. Then you get to high school, and then you get right. You got scouters coming to check you out for college ball. And you go play college, and then you got scouters looking for the NFL, or you go do the combine. That's like a set path. Like everybody knows how you get to the NFL. So as far as I go, I had amateur fights, and then once you get the I guess requirements to be able to go pro, you go pro when you're ready, or you can go out of state and fight somewhere that you can just go straight pro. Either way, and then when you are pro, it's really up to you as far as like how your career goes. So for me, back to what you were saying, Grayson, is I had just fought a time.
You're covering your mic.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So like I was saying, so I had a big fight. It was a main event for NFC.
Okay.
And I was fighting the number 2 fighter in Georgia. I beat him. I destroyed him. He was a black belt from Brazil. Murdered him on the ground. Murdered him stand up.
Right?
At 45. And then right after that, my boy Josh Rafferty, he was on the Ultimate Fighter season 1, but he also trains with me at Ybor State Jiu-Jitsu Club. And he was like, yo, he's like, you got to get in the UFC like right now, dude. He's like, you're 7-2. He's like, you're on a 3-fight win streak. You're killing everybody. He's like, because there's nobody for you to fight right now. So he's like, I'm gonna put in a good word with my boy Danny, Dan Rubenstein, who's my current agent from Ruby Sports and Entertainment. And he's like, talk to him. He's like, he can get you in. And so I ended up signing with Danny pretty soon after that. And then he told me, he's like, I might be able to get you on the Contender Series in July. He's like, but I'm not sure. He's like, until then, if I don't find out anything, he's like, let's start setting up another fight before then, so it'll give you a better chance to get in there. So we actually tried to set up like 2 or 3 other like fights. Like, I mean, they were all title fight. One was for CFFC. One was for like some other place up northeast. And and everybody, they either turned down, they all turned down the fight. They basically had, like, one of them had 2 options, and they chose like a really crappy dude to fight because they wanted an easy fight, which, whatever, it makes sense. I guess you're trying to get to the UFC. Anyway, everybody pulled out. Nobody wanted to fight. And then I was actually sitting right here, or laying in my bed, and he just texted me. He texted me the name of my opponent, and then he put the date. He was just like, July 31st, and then sent me the Tapology of Stephen Wynn.
Did he tell you it was Contender Series, or he just told you that's your
He said it was Contender Series, yeah. And I was like, hell yeah, because, and I was like, okay, Stephen Wynn's, I think it was 7-0 at the time when we fought. So I was like, sweet. I was like, let's get it. And my girl was, super stoked. And it's funny because, like, whenever I get a name and like a date and stuff, I'm never like excited about it. Like, my heart drops. I feel like all like butterflies in my stomach, and I'm like, oh God, I gotta fight. Even though, like, that's what you've been waiting for. As soon as I get the fight, I'm like, no. I'm like, okay.
It's just like a realization.
Yeah, and I remember, like, all I sent them back was a emoji with the sunglasses. I sent it back. I said, cool. And that was
it. That's all they did for you? Did you obviously had to sign a contract or something like that, right? Like,
oh yeah, I mean, he sent me the contract later. So, like, so I got the contract, I signed it, send it back out, and then what the UFC has you do is fly out to Vegas. So we flew out to Vegas for 3 days. We had to do the filming, the pre-fight interview, all the promotional stuff, and this is like 2 months out from the fight, and then you go back home, you do your whole camp, and then you fly out for the fight.
So did you get in his face, like, talking crap, like grabbing the mic, throwing it?
You know what's funny is the interview process for the Contender Series. It's like an hour or 45 minutes long. Like, they're asking you a lot of questions, and you're just trying to, tell your story. You're basically giving your entire life story, but they only take about a minute or two.
Yeah, like an Instagram post amount.
Yeah, like honestly, go fuck yourself, you little rat, or something like that.
They try to get like the little sound bites. They want to hear you saying like, "Oh, my opponent's gonna be bleeding after the fight," and blah 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 blah. And I tried really hard not to give them anything like to like try and pin me in a hole or whatever. But I think I think they might have thrown something. I don't really remember, but it was cool.
Because they're kind of trying to make your character right there, like I remember I was reading about Colby Covington, and like before he fought Damian Maia, he was like super humble, super nice guy, like super calm. And then they went up to him before the Maia fight. It was the last fight on his contract, and they were like, "Look, we're cutting you if you win or lose. Like, you're done. We don't want you anymore. Like, you're done." So he was like, "Damn!" And he's running through everyone too. He's not losing fights; he's winning.
Yeah.
And he's like, "Damn, I got to switch it up." So then he goes to Brazil for the press conference, and he's just like, "Fuck Damian Maia, fuck Brazil," like all this stuff. And then he beats Damian Maia, and then they're like, "We can work with this. We can do this." So that's why it sucks. Like when people hate guys that do talk smack, it's like some people are assholes. In every sport there are some assholes, but some people, they got to do it to make money. And it sucks, and it sucks that it's that way. But there is an entertainment aspect to our sport. There really is.
And being when I was at the PI for I was out in Vegas for 6 months, you would hear who's like nice and who's like mean and all that stuff like that. And you'd also meet them too. And Colby Covington apparently is like the nicest person, like one of the nicest fighters out there. Anybody that comes in contact with him, he's super nice, he's friendly, and it's all just show. And like you said, it sucks that like he has to do that to, one, make more money, to stay in the promotion and just like to have people watch him fight. But that's the sport we're in. We're in the entertainment sport.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's what I think brought the UFC up so quickly, and like other leagues like the MLB you see now, they have a limit. I'm not sure of the technicalities, but they don't do enough promotion. Like if you ask a kid today, who their favorite athlete is, they might say a football player. They might even say Conor McGregor, but you're not going to hear them say Mike Trout or Cody Bellinger.
I agree.
You know what I mean? Two of the best baseball players. And that's all because, even the NFL, they'll mic up their players. And the UFC, they do the press conferences. And, it's all about, like, social media. That's what all the kids are looking at nowadays. But, I mean, in baseball, it's like, it's sad to say it's like a dying sport. The game takes too long. It's not exciting. But the UFC is the complete opposite of baseball, where it's just, bare knuckle, not bare knuckle, but you know what I mean.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like just, gritty, entertaining, and, you don't really have to know a lot about fighting to be a fan too, which I think is cool.
No, yeah, and I do agree with you on that, Meech. I feel like there are things I obviously have opinions that I don't think the UFC and Dana White do properly. But I mean, that's about any organization. But I think when it comes to promoting their fighters and promoting their cards, there's no one that does it like the UFC. They just they attack everything, bro. And even some of the stuff they do is so cringe. Like they had Addison Rae, the TikTok star, at the UFC PI. Like, I'm not a fan of that, but dude, that's a whole new audience they're attacking that they never had before.
Yes.
It's genius.
Can you name me the commissioner of the MLB?
No idea.
No.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Robert Manfred. I don't even know if that's his name. But
no,
exactly.
That's the next thing I want to.
The players hate him because they can't even. They make a lot of money in baseball because there's still those old timers that watch it, and there's just brands like the Yankees that are just huge, but no one goes to the games really. No one watches it on TV, that's for sure.
Yeah.
People go to games, but I mean, there's some teams like the Oakland Athletics, they're not even making enough money to get a new stadium. The city won't pay for it. So it's like they might have to move, and you don't see that happening with like the NFL or even the NBA is, pretty big, but
I want to touch back on the UFC PI. So, mistake if I say anything wrong, let me know. But from what I remember from doing my homework on you, you went to the PI because this is when I first met you. Was like right before you went to the PI. It was like right before you got your fight announced. Right. We trained like maybe 3 to 4 weeks in a row. That was when like I first started to get to meet you, and then you left for the PI. And if I'm not mistaken, it's because of COVID and like your mom or your grandma, you didn't want to give it to her, correct?
It was because COVID hit, and then my girlfriend was like, hey, I don't want you training all these places because her mom, we live like she lives with us and everything. We're all living together, so it's me and her mom and me. And I was like, I got to keep training. Like I was like, there's no way I can just not train, and hope this thing blows over or whatever and just get out of shape. So she's like, well, if you're going to train and keep training, she's like, I don't want you bringing it here. She's like, you need to go somewhere else. So, and it was funny because at the same time she told me that I was actually dog sitting a house for like 6 weeks. So I wasn't at the house. So I was able to train.
That's good.
For that 6 weeks. And then my agent called me and was like, hey, it might be good for you to get out of Florida for a bit because this is when Florida was really hot.
Yeah, this is when it first hit. Yeah, because I met you at the very beginning of COVID.
Right. So, he was like, you might want to get out of Florida, come to Vegas. And, because at least he's like, the Apex is right next door. So he's like, you have a better chance of getting a fight if you're here right next to it. And I can, throw out to Sean and be like, hey, Aalon's out here, training. He's ready to fight, so that was the whole reason. So I hit up Coach Casey out there in Vegas. He's the owner at 10th Planet Vegas.
Okay.
And, told him, hey, do you have any rooms? Do you know anybody that like, can, help, house me while I'm out there? And he was like, yeah, he's like, you just come stay with me. So I stayed with Coach Casey for 6 months, and it wasn't really originally supposed to be for 6 months. I was really supposed to go out there. I think I left July 25th, and I was planning on fighting August, like late August, like maybe like a month is what I was trying to be out there for. And as soon as I got out there, actually one of my last wrestling sessions with Mahmoud, Carlos had picked me up from a single leg, and he took me down, and I landed on my shoulder. I actually partially tore my labrum. And so I was just doing physical therapy for the whole month of August, just trying to like get my shoulder back. And then after that, it was like every month I was just waiting. He was like, "Oh yeah, there's a fight coming up. We're trying to get you in September." And then that would blow over. And then it's like, all right, well, maybe it's October. And then that would blow over. And so like every month I just kept thinking I was fighting, and I really wasn't. And we got all the way to, I want to say, December.
Yeah, you announced that. I'm pretty sure, like, what, late December, early January?
Yeah, so he was like, all right, he's like, Sean's going to put you against Uros in March. So I was like, okay. So I was like, damn, it's 3 months from now. So I was like, well, let me go home for the holidays. So I came home for like 3 weeks. And then I actually drove my car back out because I was renting a car the entire time. And I did the rest of my camp out there in Vegas. And then, that was it. And then I fought.
Now, so before I go into depth a little more on this, so for everyone that's listening and even Meech that don't know what the UFC PI is, the UFC has different performance institutes throughout the entire country in which their fighters are allowed to go there and train whenever they want. And they have like rehabilitation, they have physical therapy, they have coaches that'll help you. I mean, it's the whole 9 yards. And I feel like that's one thing the UFC has that I think is awesome. That no
there's actually only two.
Two, yeah.
Sorry.
There's trying to make one in China or something too?
They have one in China. So China's one of them.
Okay.
And then the one in Vegas is the only other one. And actually the one in China is 4 times bigger than the one here in Vegas, which is crazy because if you've been into the PI, like you see how big it is. I can't even fathom what 4 times bigger than that would be.
Yeah. Now, can you give us, this is where I was going to lead into, like, what was it like at the PI? Like, who'd you meet? What did you do there? Like, what was your regimen? I know you were doing, you had like a bunch of trainers there working on you. Like, what'd you like? Any fighters that you didn't really like know of or care for that you end up liking and vice versa? Anything like that?
My bad. Just to clarify real quick. So it's just a giant gym facility where everyone in the UFC can go compete at
whenever they want.
Correct. So it's that, as well as they have like their office area where they do like promotion, their video stuff, all their editors and stuff. There's like a business area as well, and that's where Dana's at, and they're doing their fighter the matchmaking meetings. But the fighters aren't allowed to go over there because which makes sense. Because imagine if Dana White was walking around the PI and where the fighters are at, people would be bothering him all day trying to get fights and stuff.
Oh yeah.
So
for amateurs that like, could Grayson go over there or no?
The only way you can get into the PI if you're not a fighter, a UFC fighter, is if you're going with a UFC fighter. So we can bring up you could bring up the 4 people in.
So me and Aalon can hold hands walking in through the front door.
Exactly. And they literally won't let you. Can't even get into the front gate if you're not a fighter or with a fighter. Like it's impossible.
So just like I said, it's a little more depth and analysis of what that was like, what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, like everything.
So they have nutritionists there. So I was working with their nutritionists every day. They make all your meals. If you want their meals, you can make their meals. And so I was taking advantage of it. So I get to eat free every day, 3 meals a day with snacks and everything. And my nutritionist is like, checking my portions. She's checking my weight. She's like, okay, I'm going to take out this for the day. So they're helping with my weight cut the whole time. There's also I'm getting physical therapy done every day over there, which is amazing because physical therapy is so expensive if you've ever, had to go pay for it. But you're getting it for free every single day, and you can get it multiple times a day. They have a whole recovery area with a sauna, a hot tub, a cold tub, laser light therapy. There's a full-size octagon upstairs. There's a whole mat area, bags upstairs. Downstairs, they have the strength conditioning area, which they have strength conditioning coaches, which is who I was working with. Matt Crawley, who's one of the coaches there. It's really just a resource for everything. Like, there's nothing there that other than like you're not gonna get a jiu-jitsu coach there, you're not gonna get a striking coach there, but everything else you can get at the PI. Like there's really nothing there, and they're always there to help you out. Like if you ask them, like you can ask some random, like I'm out of duct tape. Do you guys have duct tape? And they'll give you duct tape. Like, you know what I mean? Like they're trying to accommodate the fighters.
I'm sorry, you keep going.
Yeah, no. So I would say so my regimen as far as like, so I would go to Extreme Couture in the morning, Wednesday and Friday mornings. I would go straight to the PI, do physical therapy. And then I'd wait an hour. I would go do sports psychology maybe upstairs, and then I would do strength and conditioning. And then I would go home. I would relax for an hour, go wrestle, go home, relax for an hour, and then I go back out to jiu-jitsu. And it was pretty much literally every single day I was at the PI doing physical therapy and, you know, whatever else, strength and conditioning 3 days a week.
Now, you said that there's not like personal coaches there, but I've seen a lot of videos of like I said, I've never been there, obviously, but someone who's obsessed with MMA, like a nerd. I've seen a lot of videos of like Henry Hooft going there, and like other guys that aren't on his team will be like, "Yo, you hit mitts for us and it'll help them." I've seen videos of like George St. Pierre being there helping guys. So I feel like even though like there's like it's individuals, so we're all like each other's enemy, like or target. I feel like at the same time, like it's very helpful, and like everyone wants to see everyone succeed.
Yeah, I mean, because you can bring in your own coaches, and you can also run classes there. So, like, what we would do is I would, you know, like 10th Planet and Extreme, if we wanted to hold a MMA session there or a wrestling session, then I would just tell the front desk, I'd be like, hey, I want to reserve the red mats for 4 o'clock to 5 o'clock. And then everybody would show up. We go in, we do our class, and then we leave. You know, that's how a lot of people do it. I mean, especially if you've got the PI there and you can use the actual octagon that you're going to be fighting in. Like that's a huge thing to have. Or if you don't have room at your gym, you've got the giant red mats to use as space, you know, and then you've got the showers downstairs. You've got protein. You can have the smoothie station. You can have them make you a drink or a pre.
It's all free. Everything.
It's all free. Everything's free.
Insane.
So, and it makes sense because the UFC is trying to, you know, promote the PI, and they want their fighters to come by and, you know, do all the diagnostics and, you know, use the facility. It looks good for the company.
Second question. Sorry to cut you off, but
no.
Are there guys that are so rich, like the biggest fighters? Let's say McGregor, just because he's fighting tonight. Like, are there guys that think they're too good to, you know, be at the PIs with, you know, say that guys that have fought one match or something like that? Or
no, I didn't really run into anybody like that. I mean, I saw Connor at the PI. I mean, I don't think he was training. He was actually there to do an interview with Ariel Helwani upstairs. It was for the Cowboy fight, and
don't bring it up.
I briefly met him. Super nice guy. Israel Asanya's in there using their physical therapist. And
I see him. I see that he's in there a lot. It's always like Michael Chiesa, right?
Huh?
Michael Chiesa goes there a bunch too, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, Michael Chiesa too. Yeah, he's really good. He's really good friends with Coach Casey too, so he always comes through. Or he's at Syndicate with John Wood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there really wasn't anybody that feels like – I think the PI is just kind of like a neutral place for, like, all the fighters. Like, you could run into somebody who's in your weight class, and there's no, like, real ill will. The only times I ever, like, that there were people that didn't like each other and they had to, like, separate, like, put their certain times at different times so they didn't run into each other were girls. Like, girls are just – I guess girls are just savage. It was always girls.
Of course.
It'd be like, so-and-so, like, they don't like each other, so we have to schedule their times for PT at a different time so they can't run into each other. But other than that, like, so everybody gets along.
Civil, like, would you say it's more of an act, like, when guys are going head-to-head, like Poirier and McGregor? Like,
No, I think when it comes to when you get matched up with somebody, and you're getting close to a fight and you're doing those type of events, I don't think that's fake. But if you had seen Poirier and Connor in the PI together before they got matched up again, they'd probably be civil. They probably, like, there wouldn't be an issue. But now they got matched up again, it changes things.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I want to piggyback off that. Both guys. So I only have 2 fights. I'm 2-0 right now, but both guys I fought were super super nice dudes, super cool guys, and I respected them a bunch. But like the second I got that text, like so and so is who you're fighting, it was completely. I didn't care how nice he was. I didn't care what his reason was. It was like that man has a target on his head, and I'm gonna come after him. And then the second it's over, we're cool, bro. Like I texted both kids after I fought them. I thanked them and everything. But like you're saying, Alon, like when it's game time, it's game time. Like you're my enemy until we shake hands and get my hand raised, you know? So I understand that 100%.
And it's not really anything personal either. It's just what you have to do mentally to get yourself in to get ready for a physical altercation with another killer who's trying to kill you in a cage.
Well, and like I can't remember who it was, but someone on Rogan talked about it, and they're like, it's way easier to fight someone you don't like. You know, if you can convince yourself you don't like them, it's a lot easier to fight them. You know, and I feel like that happens a lot.
I think that's another unique part about the UFC. Like I remember, like when I played high school football, we had a crosstown rival, dude, and we hated those guys. You know, like we actually hated them. You know, and you know, we didn't have respect for them after the game or before the game. We hated the school. We hated the colors. We hated the field. We hated the kids that went to the other school. So I don't know. It's like a unique thing, I feel like. But I could see how, you know, you have respect for another fighter like that, especially in a professional setting, you know,
Yeah.
opposed to high school.
Well, I think what it is, you know, you have so much respect already for anybody that steps into the cage in general. And then also even more respect for somebody who's made it into the UFC or at a higher level, because you know the hard work and the time and sacrifice they put in to get there, and that you had to do the same thing. So there's already an ultimate respect. And also that, like, there's no point in fighting or, you know, really getting too emotional about anything, because we both know we could like kill each other on a certain day. Like one day I could be the one who's getting murdered, or the other guys would be the one getting murdered.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a 50-50 toss up, really. Aside from whoever's prepared better, and you know, sometimes you zig when you should have zagged.
Yeah, no, and like the thing that I tell people all the time too is like if I have like a fight, or like even like in practice, or like even when I wrestled growing up, and like it was a kid I didn't like, we went to war and it was like a split decision, like a 1-point match. I was like, dude, I know how hard I worked and how much I sacrificed, and for that kid to respect me enough to do the same, for us to be that close, like you got to respect him, you know. And that's like the way I always thought about it. Like, I know how much I put on the table, and for me to barely beat him, that means he respected my skill and my ability enough to train just as hard as me. You know, and that's just like a respect thing already. And then you already have martial arts already built on respect and discipline and all that too, you know? And like, besides like your street fighters and stuff, like it's all respect, dude, like 100%.
I remember one time I was at the Cove in Deerfield Beach, and I met Rashad Evans. He was just there.
What?
Yeah, and no one really recognized him. And I was like, yo, that's Rashad Evans. And I went over and I got a picture with him, and he was like the nicest guy ever. I was like, yo, this guy could literally whoop everyone here in the bar, like no problem. And he's just, you know, the nicest guy ever. Like, was wearing just like a fishing shirt and, you know, some cargo shorts, like a normal guy. And I was like, dang, this dude's like a certified professional killer. But he was like the nicest guy ever. He's like, nice to meet you, man. I was like, oh, thanks for the picture. But that was pretty cool. So he's like a legend, Rashad Evans.
Yeah, but like all that, see, like where we go to school, we go to FAU in Boca. So you got like Boca, Deerfield, Fort Lauderdale, Pompano Beach, like all that, like Coconut Creek. So like there's I trained at ATT Sunrise down there, Wolfpack MMA, with like Roger Crawl and Charles McCarthy and Talita and all them. But I would see on the regular like Michael Chandler, Anthony Johnson, because Sanford and ATT headquarters are right there. Like we would go out to clubs and see Colby Covington partying. Like they all live there too, and people forget like yeah, their status is cool, but they are normal people too. Like they still want to get drunk and like have a good time too. But
yeah, Rashad is from South Florida too. I don't know, Fort Lauderdale, something like that.
Who?
Rashad Evans.
Yeah, he trained with he trained with Black
There, yeah.
Yeah. So let's
let's start
talking about let's start getting after this UFC 264. So I'll do a card. We all give what we think, and we'll move on. So obviously, the first opening is Sean O'Malley versus, I don't know how to pronounce this kid's last name, but Chris Motino. Motino. So for everyone that doesn't understand, Sean O'Malley is one of the biggest rising prospects in the sport right now. Hate him or like him, you can't disagree with that. And he's known for having a big mouth and calling everyone out and then fighting unranked guys. So he was originally supposed to fight Smolka, but Smolka got like staph or something and backed out. So now he's fighting a kid from the CFFC who's making his debut in the opening of the Connor card. So my thing real quick, if you're Sugar Sean, I don't know why he took this fight. I think he should have taken Ricky Simone or Kelleher at 45. They were all down for it. I don't understand that. UFC wise, it's genius because you're pretty damn guaranteed that he's gonna have a walk-off KO, and a lot of people are gonna be hyped. And from that kid's point of view, Chris, what a freaking opportunity, bro. You know, like it's literally like a dream. Like you're a professional fighter, you're 9-4, you're not too crazy, no one really knows about you, and then you get a random call from Dana, and he's like, "Yeah, you're gonna fight on your UFC debut is gonna be the opening fight on the Conor McGregor card against Sugar Sean O'Malley." Like, what an opportunity, bro. I respect that kid so much for stepping up and take that on short notice. Like, it's genius on his part. You know, because everyone's got a puncher's chance. And you know that damn well, Aalon. Like, everyone's got a puncher's chance.
Yep.
Now, I don't think he's going to win. I think Sean's going to tee off on him. But the thing is, if this kid loses, regardless if he wins or loses, and he doesn't get finished or destroyed, that's a win in his book. Because that looks really bad on Sugar. They're like, Sugar's a 1,100 favorite, you know? So, like, even if this kid just gives him a fight, like, that's a win in that kid's book. 10-day notice on a big prospect like that. But at the end of the day, to be safe, I'm going Sugar finish easily, second round. I think the kid's going to stand and bang the first round, maybe shy away a little. You know, Sugar sometimes tries to force the knockout too quick. But I think second round, it's over.
This Chris Moutinho kid, he's 5'6". They're both 135 pounds. O'Malley's 5'9", and O'Malley's got a 4-inch advantage reach. And just like you said, my non-expert opinion is O'Malley for sure.
I would love for this kid to sleep him though. I think that'd be amazing. I just don't see it happening. What are you thinking, Alon?
What do you think, Alon?
Yeah. Well, so the thing is, like, you know, I listened to him talk about the whole matchup process. So like you said, he said he'd take the Ricky Simone fight, but Ricky Simone said that, or they originally said they could do 35, and then they came back and said they can't do 35. They could do 45, like you said. And I guess they went through a whole line of, you know, bantamweights who they couldn't make 35. He only wanted to fight at 35, which I can't really fault him for that because he only walks around like 150 pounds, like when he's that close to weight or when he's that close to the fight. So, you know, to go from cutting 15 pounds where you're going to have a size advantage to going only cutting 5 pounds where you're probably going to lose your size advantage because, you know, if Ricky Simone is cutting 15, 20 pounds to get to 45, he's going to be the bigger, stronger guy. So I don't really blame him for that. And then, you know, Chris, it's not like he's the one who picked him out, right? Because they gave him a list and that was the only one who can make 35. From what I know, from what he said and what the UFC's
talking about. I heard the same thing.
Right. So, and Chris is 2-2 in his last 4 fights. He's on a 2-fight win streak, and he lost the last 2 before that. So, you know, I mean, it's really on the bantamweights who are calling him out, but they couldn't make the weight. Like even Cody Stanton's my boy. He called him out. He's like, "Well, we can do it at a catch weight," and it's like, well, he doesn't want to do a catch weight. You can't really fault him for that, right?
Yeah, if you would have known prior that it was at 45, your whole nutrition plan is completely different. It's a completely different animal. And he's already 10 days out, so you already know he's been trying to make 35. So I personally don't blame him on that. I'm with you on that.
Yeah, and I can't remember what I was gonna say. Anyway, I definitely probably take Sean. You know, obviously, probably by. I mean, he's calling a second round knockout. I'd probably say it goes down in the first 2 rounds, whether it's the first or the second. But like you said, this is this kid's chance to take all of his clout and, get a name for himself, just like Alex Hernandez did against Beneil Dariush when he came in on 5 days notice,
100%.
knocked him out in the first round, and took all that clout.
Yeah.
And then he had a little run, going through. Who else? Oh, Lando Venata, when he fought Tony Ferguson, almost beat him on like a day, 2 days notice or whatever it was. So it's a win-win for this kid. For Sean, he needs to steamroll him. He needs to finish him.
I agree.
I don't even say he just needs to win in dominant fashion. This kid could be tough and you might not be able to finish him, but he definitely needs to win, in a dominant fashion. And because if he doesn't, then I don't know if his stock goes down, but people are going to look at him kind of funny when he's starting to call other people out.
Yeah. So if I had, if someone forced me to say why I had to pick the other kid, right? Obviously, I don't think it's going to happen, but the only factors are when I used to wrestle under Coach Sal Basil at Jesuit, prestigious coach, 3-time back-to-back state champions at Springstead. He would say the scariest match for the number one kid in the state is an unranked kid, because that kid, the number one kid, is thinking he's a nobody, so his mental might be different, and then that other kid has the opportunity of a lifetime. So that's the only thing I think could help this Chris kid is Sugar might overlook him, and this kid has his back against. He has nothing to lose whatsoever. So that's the only thing that might change it. But I really think Sugar's focused. I really do. I was begging for the Simone fight though. I love Ricky Simone.
Yeah, he's good. He's super good. That'd have been a great matchup.
The next fight on this card is Irene Aldana and Yana Kunsikaya. I don't know who either one of these girls are.
Dude, these women look scary as hell.
Yana is Thiago Santos' wife.
No way. So
she's about as tall as I am. She's like 5'11". I'm 6 foot, but she's like 5'11".
Yana?
Big old Russian girl.
5'6".
No, they say that, but she's actually like 5'11".
Damn, that's a big girl.
And
she weighs 135.
She fought Cyborg. I don't know if you remember. She got murdered by Cyborg, but
in UFC or Strikeforce?
No, in UFC.
No, I don't remember that.
And then Irene's actually really good, but she actually missed weight by 4.5 pounds, 139.5.
She's giving up 30% of her purse.
Yeah. So I think Irene wins it. She's a better striker. Yana's gonna probably try and take her down.
The odds are literally dead even. It's 105 and 115.
Really? Yeah. So it's either Yana's gonna take her down and ground and pound and control her, or Irene's gonna piece her up in the stand-up game.
Damn, dude. Yana has a 73.12 significant strike percentage. That is insane.
That's crazy.
That is insane. Yeah, I don't really know much, but being an ATT guy, I trained at headquarters for a year. I trained down south at Wolfpack, and I trained here at Tampa. I got to go with the ATT girl. They're just really good at getting people ready for big fights. And obviously with Thiago Santos as her husband, I feel like her mental is going to be there. I think she's going to be good. Like I said, I don't really know much about these two girls though, but I mean, fighting Cyborg, that's a good win or lose. If you fight a huge person like that, that's experience. You know?
For sure.
And this card being a Conor McGregor card, a lot of people are going to be shell shocked with the amount of people and the energy that's going to be there. So she already has at least some experience of fighting a big name. So that might help calm the storm down a little, in my opinion. Meech, what we got?
Right. Scariness factor alone, I'm going Irene. I don't think I could last 10 seconds in the ring with her. No way.
She's got big tree trunk legs too.
Oh, that's scary. That is scary.
She's looking serious.
So next fight up, we got I think this is the weirdest fight to put on the fight card.
Greg Hart, is he the NFL guy?
Yeah.
What the?
Yeah.
Dude, he's a beast on the Cowboys.
Yeah, but I just don't think he's touching Tai Tuivasa. Greg Hardy was unbelievable. He's one of those guys we talked about earlier. He's just a freak athlete and could make the adjustment to any sport he chose to. I've met him. I've seen him train when I was at headquarters. Giant human being, giant. But he hasn't fought anybody. The guys he beats up on are terrible. And Tai Tuivasa is a very legitimate heavyweight. He's very good. The guy has bombs. I think Greg Hardy's gonna go out there and try to force something. I think Ty's just gonna catch him. I got Ty with a finish. I don't know what round, but I don't see Greg Hardy doing anything.
Greg Hardy fought?
Nobody's.
He fought Volkov.
Yeah, he did
on
fight
short
Volkov.
notice.
Yeah.
And then
But he lost.
Marcin Tybura is probably his other biggest fight. His most recent fight, his loss.
Mm-hmm.
Which he was piecing up Marcin in the first round. The second round, Marcin came out, and I think that's when Greg Hardy gassed out, and then Marcin just TKO'd him. Like, he just kind of quit and just didn't want to fight anymore.
Yeah,
I probably take I got Greg Hardy.
No
I don't
way.
like him. I don't like him. But I just think he's so athletic from football. I mean, he's an athlete. He's just a true athlete.
Yeah.
He hits hard. He's super explosive. And if he gets it done, I think it's in the first round. And then Tai Tuivasa, I think he's about the life, right? He's about getting it in and banging it out with people.
He's like that Max Holloway lifestyle. Like, we're going to stand here and slug it out.
I think a little too much. Like, he'll be, getting into exchanges that he shouldn't be, and he'll get caught sometimes. And I just think if he gets caught by Greg Hardy, then Greg Hardy finishes him. So I'm going to take Greg Hardy.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Greg Hardy's a bad dude. If I'm not mistaken, they kicked him out of the NFL because he was getting in trouble?
No, I'm pretty sure he's beating his wife.
Sure. That's what it was.
Yeah, it's a lot worse than what you were trying to say it was.
Okay, I thought it was like a firearm, but that's pretty horrible.
Yeah.
So.
Bro, and I'm gonna tell you right now, like, look, I don't know this man. I don't want to speak anything on his downfall. Like, he could obviously be a way better person now. I believe everyone deserves a second chance. But when I first met him at headquarters, I remember seeing him and I was like, there's no woman on the planet that's gonna stop him from beating her. Like, he is so massive.
No doubt.
So massive.
When he was
6'5",
playing
265, bro, that's a huge human.
Yep.
Yeah, he was like one of the best DNs in the league.
Yeah, for the Cowboys.
From what I know about him from football, I'm going with Greg Hardy.
Now, the next fight is my personal favorite fight on this entire card. Wonderboy Thompson versus Burns.
Oh, Wonderboy.
Wonderboy's a -160, Burns a +135. So for people that need a little background on this, since I'm hyping this fight up so much, Gilbert Burns, long life teammates with Kamaru Usman, kind of always sat in his shadow a little. They went on a crazy, like, COVID kind of helped his career. Went on a crazy run during COVID, had a war with Usman, got finished. So he's on a hot streak right now. And then Thompson fought Tyron, tied, and then lost. I believe it was a split decision. Then was doing fine, and then just got caught by Anthony Pettis. That kind of set him back down. He had to reclimb up. But since then, he beat Vicente Luque in a very dominating fashion. And then he beat Geoff Neal in a very dominating fashion. So if I had to pick, I'm going to pick Wonderboy because I believe this fight is just a very bad stylistic matchup for Burns. I think Wonderboy is going to keep the distance, keep him out, and I think his cardio is better too. I think he's going to chop down the legs of Burns. And the only way Burns is going to win is if he, one, takes it down to the ground, which is almost impossible to take Wonderboy down. Yeah, and then the second thing is he's got to catch him with a bomb with the hands, and I don't think Wonderboy's going to let him get in that close. I think it's going to be a very explosive first round from Burns, and then it's going to get mentally frustrated and it's going to start teetering down. I think Wonderboy's going to keep it simple. Ones and twos move. Just chop that tree. I got Wonderboy unanimous decision.
I also have Wonderboy winning as well. I think his distance control and, his technique is just flawless compared to anybody who's striking with him. If you stay on the outside of Wonderboy, he's going to pick anybody apart. Now, saying that, Gilbert is teammates with Vicente Luque.
Mm-hmm.
He's fought him. He knows what it's like in there. He's probably the best person to tell, what he sees and what mistakes he made to counter whatever Wonderboy is going to do. And as well as if you rewatch the Vicente Luque and Wonderboy fight, which I did because the UFC put it up on their YouTube, Vicente caught Wonderboy a few times. Like he would kind of I don't want to say bum rush, but kind of aggressively bum rush him. And the thing is with Wonderboy's style, he has to fight with his hands down a lot because of his movement. That's just how he fights. And he was getting hit with a few combos, pretty good, with his hands down because he's trying to slip out
or he's trying to move back and forth.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibility for him to get caught by Gil, because Gilbert hits a lot harder than Vicente does.
Gilbert has bombs.
Right. So if he's able to get into any of those exchanges that Vicente was able to create, he could catch Wonderboy and knock him out. But that's also gonna leave Gilbert vulnerable. Him trying to run in. Anybody that tries to run in on Wonderboy, you're putting yourself in danger of getting
Very,
knocked out.
very high danger, yeah.
So it's an interesting fight, because one guy is trying to take the space and distance away to either get the takedown or get the big shot, and the other one's trying to create the distance and keep the fight at a long range match. So it'll be a really good fight. But I'm gonna take Wonder Boy.
Yeah, and like the other thing right before you go, Meech, I'm sorry, is like what you were saying is not only the Vicente Luque thing is going to help Burns. I think Henry Hoof's one of the greatest striking coaches in the entire world. So I think having him by his side is going to help him a lot as well, for sure. But I still, like you said, I just don't. The percentage of Burns landing a bomb versus Wonder Boy keeping him out, they don't equal.
Mm-hmm.
Meech, what we thinking?
I've never heard of Burns before. I love Wonder Boy. And he's minus 160 Wonder Boy. So these fights are pretty even. These odds, like Greg Hardy's plus 110, depending on where you look.
Well, the O'Malley fight's landslide, but everything else.
Oh, yeah. The O'Malley's like minus 1,000. Minus 1,000.
Yeah.
So, I hope Wonder Boy wins. I didn't know he was 38, dude. He's pretty jacked for a 38-year-old guy.
Yeah.
So, So I guess you said Burns fights on the ground a lot. I know Wonder Boy doesn't, so that should be a good fight.
Getting Wonder Boy to the ground is a freaking monster of a mission.
Yep.
He's like got long legs and like that's just not the way he fights, dude. He's like he's a kickboxer.
Now for the big one, the one that everyone has been blowing my phone up for, the trilogy between the notorious Conor McGregor and Dustin the Diamond Poirier. Everyone already knows I'm picking Poirier. Probably my favorite fighter right now, outside of Aalon, of course. But love him, dude. I love what he's about. I love everything about him. He's an amazing human being. He's extremely entertaining, win or loss. Closest guy to finishing Khabib with that guillotine in the second round. I just think the only way Conor beats Poirier is if he can keep it a 1-2 boxing fight, shorten the kicks, and just throw hands and keep it 1-2. But the problem is, I don't think Conor can knock him out. I think Poirier's chin's too strong. And Conor is very not good in the later rounds where Poirier thrives when it gets deeper. I think he's going to utilize – I think the way Poirier wins this is he utilizes it as an MMA fight. He's going to use kicks, punches, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, cage work. He's going to utilize every aspect. I think it's just going to wear down on Conor, and Conor's not going to have enough. I just don't think Conor's a better boxer 100%, but this is not a boxing match. This is an MMA fight against two very high-level guys. And I just think – it just bothers me watching like the interviews in the press and Conor saying he's washed and stuff. I'm like, bro, do you not realize he knocked you out 5 months ago? Like, you was forgetting this, But that's why I pick. I got Poirier. I think a late fight submission or TKO, like third or fourth round.
I got Conor winning. I just don't ever bet against Conor. I just think he's
that's safe though.
He's just good. He's technically he's better. His distance control and his timing is better. He hits harder. I think he hits harder than Poirier too. And he does well in rematches. I think he'll fix the mistakes that he made. Because I would, even if Conor and Khabib fought again, I would pick Conor again.
Okay, calm down, buddy. Calm down.
So I think he's good at figuring things out, especially when he knows what exactly went wrong for the previous fight, which Dustin isn't really about. Which I don't think anybody's about standing with Conor in the first round.
Yeah, no, he's the most dangerous. Like Khabib said, Conor is the most dangerous first-round fighter in the history of the sport.
Correct. So that was why it was smart for Dustin to immediately take him down. Like but even then, if you look back and look at the fight, Conor was winning the fight. Like,
oh yeah, he was piecing him.
Other than the calf kicks, that was literally the only difference in that whole fight was the calf kicks. That's what led to him getting TKO'd or knocked out. But up until that point, Conor was literally outstriking Dustin and piecing him up. And I think if he's done the homework and he's worked on either defending the calf kick or countering it, getting out of the way, whatever it is, if it's even a factor in this fight, then I don't see. And Conor has great takedown defense as well. And I think he'll be ready for it. I think he got caught off guard thinking Dustin was down to stand with him. And then, Dustin came out with the takedown. So I take Conor this fight. He looks good physically. He looks great.
Yeah, no. The only thing I want to say though is you talking about how good Conor is in a rematch. Statistic: neither one of them have lost to a fighter twice, ever, in their entire amateur boxing, anything in their entire life of competing. Neither one of these two have ever lost to one guy twice, ever.
Well, then one of them's gonna lose that statistic.
Yeah, or it's a draw. They just keep milking the money out of it, but who knows?
Yeah.
I didn't realize the first match was in 2014, but
Yeah, dude, they were young. They were young, bro. Like little kids.
He's like in his prime, would you say, right?
Yeah,
Like
I would say right now it's his peak.
Yeah.
And Connor's not. So I don't know how much could have possibly changed in the past, 6 months. Dude, I want Connor to win, but dude, I honestly don't know. It should be a good fight.
It's gonna be a great fight. No, yeah, it's gonna be a great fight.
Connor could knock him out. You're tripping. How could he not, dude? He can. I don't know. I think Connor could knock him out. We'll see.
But you can at least agree, Aalon, that it's going to be a great fight regardless.
Oh, I hope it is. I hope it's not like a quick. I really don't even want it to be like a quick, Connor goes out there, Jose Aldo type of deal.
That was awesome. That was awesome.
It was crazy. I was really sad for Jose because I'm a big Jose Aldo fan. Like he's probably like my number one. Him and Anderson like number one, number two. Those are also changeable. But so when that happened and he didn't get the rematch, I was pretty mad about it. But either way, I just hope I hope it is a great fight. I hope that they at least get to go one full round or at least most of the round, and then I can see it finish. But I don't want it to be like someone gets slept like instantly.
I agree. Only other thing I want to say before we end this is Conor McGregor is 1-2 in the lightweight division in the UFC. And he has not won it. He's won one fight since Barack Obama has been president. That's all I got to say.
I saw that comment. Well, think about one of his losses, right, to Khabib. He did the best against Khabib that anybody has done against Khabib.
Outside of Gaethje, I think. Like they're about I think Gaethje did a very good job as well in the first round.
I don't know, dude. I think Conor did a better job. He stuffs his takedowns pretty well. I mean, against a high level wrestler like Khabib too, who's been doing it since he could walk.
Yeah.
Like it took Khabib, 5 or 6 wrestling. Like Conor shut down steps 1, 2, 3, and 4, and it took Khabib to hit 5 and 6 and 7 to get his actual takedowns.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Conor actually won a round against Khabib. I don't think it was even really won a round against Khabib. So Gaethje won a round?
Gaethje and Conor are the only 2 people that ever fought Khabib to win a round.
Are you serious?
Yeah, that's how. I think Khabib's the most dominant athlete of all time. Not the best, but the most dominant.
He's only
lost 29 fights. He lost 2 rounds. Come on, it's insane.
Oh my god!
But he also only has 3 title defenses.
All right.
Compared to Anderson and Mighty Mouse, you can't even.
Shout out my boy GSP. Don't forget about him.
Oh, GSP. He doesn't even touch the realm that they're in.
Yeah,
because he hasn't had that many big fights. Like you kind of didn't really hear of Khabib. Well, at least
part of it's not his fault, bro. People didn't like watching him because they thought he was boring. But then there comes to a point where it doesn't matter how boring you are. If you're that freaking good, people will watch you.
I don't know. I think Khabib's pretty exciting to watch. I think people did like. I think Conor really elevated his status because the Conor Khabib thing. It was such a big. The hype, him throwing the thing to the bus and all that stuff, and then Khabib jumping out of the cage. Like guaranteed, like if him and Conor fought again for the rematch, which I think Khabib should have. I know he doesn't care about the money or anything, but just for the hype, like if they had fought again, then I mean Khabib, his name became so big because of Conor. Like that's reality. Yeah. Otherwise, he would have been just the guy who takes everybody down and dominates them, and they don't do anything.
Yeah, because that's when I first started him, probably.
Yeah.
It's just like an amateur fan.
But hey, listen, Aalon, we really appreciate you taking time out of your day to hop on, man. Let us know. I mean, obviously, I'll probably know, but like, make sure let me know when you got that next fight coming up. We're gonna support you as well, brother. But yeah, thanks for coming on. Hope you have a great rest of your weekend, man, and enjoy watching the fights tonight.
Hey, thanks for having me on. You guys have fun watching the fights.
Yeah. Thanks, Aalon. Good luck, man. Good luck in your career.